Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video by the High Council. Today we are showing off our latest battle report for Star Wars Shatterpoint that is featuring both myself and Tom. Before we get into the video, please do subscribe along to the channel and join us on our Star Wars Shatterpoint journey. Like the video, let me know down below anything you might have done differently or anything that you picked up on that we could have done a little bit better. Follow us over on Facebook. All of the usual bits to help try and bring as much attention to the video on YouTube as possible as we enter the world of Star Wars Shatterpoint. Today I have brought with me General Anakin Skywalker and his 501st contingent, consisting of Captain Rex and the loyal clones of the 501st Legion. Alongside him, his future wife Queen Amidala, Sabe and the Naboo handmaidens. This is my first time using the Queen and the Naboo natives, so it will be good to see how they do across our galactic battlefield. To face off against these, Tom has brought the forces of the dark side of the Force, bringing Darth Vader, the Grand Inquisitor, and a number of Inquisitors for today's showdown. I'm a really big fan of the paint scheme Tom has used, and particularly how he's painted his 501st clones that have been painted to resemble those loyal to Ahsoka from Season 7 of the Clone Wars. We start off by rolling off to determine who is the first player, as we both picked the same mission deck for today, which is Sabotage Showdown. We've already set the locations for these objectives. I win the roll-off and start my deployment first, placing General Anakin Skywalker, Rex and the 501st towards the centre of the table. Tom deploys in a similar fashion with the Grand Inquisitor, Reva and the 5th brother. I then finish off my deployment with the Queen and her consort towards the right-hand side of my deployment zone, with Vader, old Obi-Wan Kenobi and the 501st then deploying in the opposite corner of Tom's deployment. We then shuffle our order cards, we reveal the first mission as Set the Charges, turn on the 6 objectives, and we are ready to rock and roll. I start by drawing from my order deck Queen Amidala, deciding to spend a force on Royal Command in order to allow the 501st clones a free advance which pushes them forwards. The Queen then takes a move forwards, followed by the Take Hunker action to get some additional movement forwards. With her turn over, I take control of 2 objectives, but as it's the first turn, I don't score anything. My thoughts going into this game are to try and keep the Queen and her handmaidens as close together as possible, and let Anakin go and do what Anakin does best. Tom then pulls his 501st order card, taking a move action first of all to get to some ingress points and take the high ground. As the second action, the clone towards the centre of the table takes a pot shot at the Queen, who is now benefiting from cover with her hunker token. Tom rolls strongly with 5 successes in total, but the Queen is able to save strongly too, which only allows 1 success through. The clone therefore gives her the pinned condition. Tom controls 2 objectives and therefore moves the struggle token 2 spaces towards him. The Queen's consort can clearly hear the sounds of fire as Sabe is next drawn from the order deck. Using her tactic ability, this allows anyone with the handmaiden tag to dash towards a primary character. Therefore, both her and the handmaidens move forwards. As her first action, she then decides she is going to take a move action, allowing her to return fire on the 501st clone that had a shot at the Queen. But before this, Sabe spends a force which allows her to use her exposed flank ability, allowing her to climb on top of the gantry towards the objective. This adds some firepower to her shot as well. As her second action, she then takes a combat action, firing back at the 501st clones, finishing with a whopping 1 crit and 6 hits. Although Tom blocks 4 of these, it allows 3 successes to get through, which gives the clone a total of 4 damage, a shove, and the strained condition. In doing this, I can then take control of the rightmost objective, and at the end of my turn, I will score 3 points. So far I can see these Naboo handmaidens have got some great movement and allow some quick movement around the battlefield. Tom then draws the first Shatterpoint card of the game. Due to the mission that we're playing, anyone who activates with this will receive a free dash, which early on can be quite key into getting into a better position to try and control some objectives. Being the second card of the game drawn, this is a particularly difficult choice, having Vader, the Grand Inquisitor, Reva, Obi-Wan, all great options for activating the Shatterpoint with. However, Tom chooses to activate the 5th brother with his Shatterpoint card. the Inquisitor can smell fear and dashes towards the natives of Naboo. The first action then being a move towards the ingress point. Now, being face to face with Sabe, the Inquisitor can start swinging his lightsaber. Sabe hasn't got great defense, and Tom rolls 1 crit and 3 successes. Sabe is only able to defend against 2 of these, which allows 2 successes to come through, dealing 2 damage, the exposed, and a strange condition. Following on from this, Tom then spends 2 force to activate the force repulse ability, which allows him to push Sabe range 2 away, just outside of control range of that objective, which means at the end of Tom's turn, he scores 3 and the struggle finishes 1 space on his side. I then draw my 501st clones, and the first thing I do is spend 1 force to complete a defensive manoeuvre. This allows them both a free dash whilst also then gaining a hunker token. I then have a look at some ranges from clones to different targets and decide my first action is therefore going to be a move action. I only decided to move 1 of the clones, with the second one staying nice and safe, knowing it's currently controlling an objective for me. The clone then decides to have a pop shot at the 5th brother, calling in some coordinated fire from the Naboo handmaidens, which gives the 5th brother the disarmed condition. Although the 5th brother is keeping safe with protection and steadfast, as he is currently contesting an active objective, it's a roll that we still make, which doesn't go well at all. In total, I roll 5 failures and only 2 hits, which the 5th brother easily defends, and there is therefore no damage dealt. The second 501st clone decides to shoot at Tom's 501st clone. This result is better, although the 3 expertise that I roll only becomes 1 hit. I do end up with 5 successes in total. Unfortunately, Tom's 501st, under the leadership of Darth Vader, is proven more than capable and blocks 4 of my successes, therefore only resulting in the pinned condition. I take control of an objective and end up controlling 3 objectives, which moves the struggle token back onto my side at the end of the turn. Tom then draws old Obi-Wan Kenobi, and has a think about the best use for his tactic ability of run. Does he head towards the board edge to threaten the 501st clone, or move towards the centre of the table? Knowing that I still have Captain Rex, Anakin and my Shatterpoint card to draw, Tom instead pays 1 force to put Obi-Wan Kenobi into reserve. He redraws it from his order deck, which draws the 3rd sister, Reva, instead, and activates her. Reva's first action, she moves towards the centre of the board, and then takes a force jump action, spending 1 force, which gets her to the same level as my 501st clone. This also puts Reva in range to complete an attack action. Reva rolls 3 hits, 1 crit, 2 expertise and a failure. Her expertise becoming a crit, a hit and an auto damage. And it doesn't look good for the 501st clone, as I only roll 2 blocks. 4 steps down the combat tree, Reva is able to deal 7 damage in total and gives the clone 3 pushes, which wounds them in 1 hit and throws the clone back off of that top objective. Tom gets his first momentum token for wounding the clone and scores 3 points for that objective. Enraged at what he's seen Reva do to his brothers in arms, Captain Rex is then drawn from the order pool and activates. He first off uses his tactic ability to give Anakin a free dash and a hunker token, which allows the Jedi Knight to start moving into the fray. Captain Rex then takes a move action as his first to get towards the ingress point and climb to the bottom of the ladder. This allows him to then take aim at Reva, looking for revenge for his wounded compatriots. The handmaidens once again offer some coordinated fire and give another disarmed condition out. Tom is quick to point out with my failure I take damage back from Reva's deflect, although after her expertise modifiers I roll 2 crits and 3 hits. Reva blocks my 3 hits in total, so just the 2 crits that come through, which deal a total of 4 damage to the Inquisitor. I score my 3 again as the momentum keeps switching back and forth between the 2 of us. Tom then draws the 5th brother. Having already activated him earlier with his Shatterpoint card, it's now time to activate with his order card. Firstly, he decides to use a recover action to remove the disarmed condition, followed by spending a force to complete a force jump and get up close and personal with the Naboo natives. With some tactical jumping, he attacks Sabe, knowing she has an exposed on her too. The defensive expertise isn't kicking in, for me, and Tom finishes with 3 hits and 2 crits. Sabe blocks 2 with no expertise, allowing 3 successes. Sabe takes a total of 5 damage, 3 plus the 1 for the auto damage from the expertise, plus 1 from being given a strange condition for the second time. She is also given an exposed and a shove. Tom once again scores 3 for his objectives. Left in my order deck, I know I have Anakin, the Handmaidens, or my Shatterpoint card, and in this turn I draw the leader of the 501st and decide it's time for Little Annie to come and play. Firstly, I spend a force to complete a force jump, joining Reva on top of the walkway, and then take a focus action to slice into Reva. It's a strong roll from Anakin, who finishes with 2 crits and 5 hits, and although Reva is able to block 3 of the hits, I can deal 7 damage and give her the strange condition, which is enough to give her a wound. Not only does this give me a momentum token, it also means the struggle token moves 1 space towards me, due to this is where the fun begins. I then score 3 points with my 3 objectives, a strong round for the Jedi. Tom now knows that he either has Vader, his Grand Inquisitor, or he chooses to activate Kenobi from reserve. He draws an order card and picks Vader. Vader charges forward, and then takes cover to slide a little further forward. This allows him to take control of the objective on the right flank, as my 501st clones are currently wounded and therefore not contributing towards that objective. This has then scored Tom 4 out of the 6 current objectives that are in play, and gives him a substantial lead as I move into my next turn. Tom's in a really strong place at the minute, safely controlling his back 2 objectives, whilst also having some big pieces on either of the flanks in the 5th Brother and Vader. I draw my Shatterpoint card, and knowing that there are a number of options available, I settle with going with Anakin again. I completely forget about the free dash he'd get from the mission for activating with a Shatterpoint card, and therefore as his first action he moves forward. This is followed by him then completing a jump action, so that he can have a swing at the 501st clone that's nearest Tom's deployment zone. As I look back, I don't think the free dash would have changed anything that I did, because I wanted to try and go and take that objective. As Anakin rolls, it's a great roll, which results in 3 crits and 3 hits. And although Tom is able to save the 3 hits, he can't do anything about the crits. And Anakin gives the 501st clone 7 damage and an additional damage because he's got a second strange condition. This allows me to control that objective, and I gain another momentum token for scoring a wound, and once again score 3 points. It's Tom's turn, and he knows that he either has Kenobi from reserve or the Grand Inquisitor in the last card of his order deck. He chooses to activate the Grand Inquisitor in his round. This allows him to activate the Grand Inquisitor's tactic ability, passing out a free dash to Reva, who dashes towards Captain Rex to get into melee range. Tom and I then have a chat about the state of Anakin Skywalker currently, and if it's a wise choice if the Grand Inquisitor faces him one-on-one, or if the Inquisitor runs away from him. The Inquisitor decides he's going to climb and throw an attack against Anakin Skywalker. After 2 successes, a crit and an auto damage later, Anakin takes a total of 4 damage and the pinned condition. Tom then spends 2 force to use Secrets Uncovered to remove my objective from control from the objective closest to the Grand Inquisitor and to Anakin Skywalker once the fighting is over. In this instance, as the 501st clones are wounded, we therefore both will control 1 unwounded character, and control of that objective currently stays vacant. Tom scores 3 as I move into the final turn of the round. This means I have the Handmaidens to go, who spend a force to use the exposed flank ability. This allows each to climb up to the next elevation, which will then allow them to both take shots into the 5th Brother. Because of the exposed flank ability, this gives them a focus action and allows them to benefit from the sharpshooter. I feel good about my chances here, and after the expertise roll, I roll a total of 7 hits. Tom also rolls really well and blocks 4 of those hits. With the 3 successes, I manage to do 1 damage, 1 heal, in which I heal the strange condition off Sabe, followed by 2 damage and the disarmed condition. The 5th Brother ignores 1 damage, so therefore takes 3 damage and the disarmed condition. The second Handmaiden then also takes shots as well, with 2 crits getting through, a damage and a heal followed by 2 more damage. down to 2 damage because of the brother's protection. I score again, and for the first time this game, we finish with the struggle tracker directly in the middle, giving us both a momentum token. Tom's final activation this turn is the older Obi-Wan Kenobi, which comes out of reserve. He uses the run tactic ability to remove the pinned condition from the 5th brother, and decides not to take advantage of the reposition, thinking it's already in a good place as it is. Kenobi then moves and takes a hunker action, sliding right onto the objective, which secures the objective and therefore scores Tom 4 points. Now that we've both activated all 7 of our cards, a quick lay of the land, and I think I'm in a pretty good position. Although Tom is very close to winning this struggle, I do think I'm in a good place to really benefit from that as we go into the next round. Tom is very close to winning this struggle, and as I draw my Handmaidens as the first order card, I accept my fate and that I'm destined to lose this struggle. I do think about if there is a way I can get them into a position where I will claim an objective or stop Tom from being able to claim the necessary points he will need in his turn. So I therefore decide to spend the force to put the Handmaidens into reserve. This then allows me to draw a second card, and I draw my Shatterpoint card. I elect to activate Anakin Skywalker once again, and this turn I do remember I can have a free dash. I elect not to use it. I take a focus again and have a swing at the Grand Inquisitor. It's a lot of dice that come in, and in total I roll 2 crits and 3 hits. Although the Grand Inquisitor blocks 3 hits, this allows Anakin to deal 5 damage. I do then spend 2 force and activate I'm going to end this, so I can have another swing at the leader of the Inquisitors. And amazingly, I roll 5 expertise and end with a total of 4 crits and 2 hits. Tom is able to block the 2 hits, but the 4 crits still comes through, and Anakin deals the necessary damage, the strained and pin conditions onto the Grand Inquisitor to give him a wound. I then gain a momentum token for wounding a character, and I get to move the struggle token 1 space towards my momentum tokens, and I get to heal each Galactic Republic character because Anakin has wounded a primary. I do score 3 points, and the struggle token ends back in the middle of the tracker, although in the first turn I have used 3 of my 7 force. I think it's been a good use of force. After a quick shuffle of Tom's order deck, he draws Reva first, determining what to do with her and if this is the right time for her to activate. He decides that it's not, given what she can offer and what he really is looking for in this turn. He therefore pays 1 force to place her into reserve and draws his 501st clones instead. As they are currently wounded, they get a clean bill of health, removing their damage and 1 of their conditions. After some quick range checking to see if they are in range of people to shoot, they decide that firstly they're going to do a move action. This allows them to remove the pinned condition from the first character by not moving, and the second clone can then have a move. This clone, who's then moved, decides that he is going to have a shot at Captain Rex. With 1 crit, 4 hits and a couple of fails, Rex blocks 2 of these, which allows him to take the pinned condition, 2 damage, and the strange condition once again. The second clone, feeling a lot more brave, decides to clobber Anakin right in the face. This doesn't go well, and Anakin is able to successfully block all of the hits that the clone does get. This does allow Tom to flip another objective and scores 4 points, 1 away from taking the struggle. I then go and draw Anakin Skywalker, who determines to stand and fight where he is, and swings at the 501st clone in an attempt to put another wound on. Tom spends 2 force with his old Obi-Wan Kenobi to use a mind trick on Anakin, something I completely forget about and will come back to bite me again later. This results in a change of plan for me, deciding not then to attack anyone else, but to make a move towards the open objective, to convert another 1 to my side, give me another 3 points, and continue to keep the struggle alive. As we move the struggle token, it is staying on Tom's half of the board, giving me an additional momentum token, and at this point I now have 7 momentum tokens on my side. Tom opts to use Reva from reserve, which firstly heals her of the wound. He then takes a move action towards an open objective, which secures a 4th objective for Tom, followed up by a recover action to remove an additional unwanted condition. These 4 points score Tom enough to take the first struggle. After a quick reset, I draw the second mission, which is We Need More Time. This gives us the same benefit for using a Shatterpoint card as the first mission, and also gives me an interesting dilemma for which of the two setups I want to go for. I ultimately opt for the top version of the two objectives, feeling safer in the knowledge that I had a number of characters sitting on the objective closest to my side of the board, who then hadn't activated. A dice roll doubles the points for the centre objective this turn, as we're now in the second struggle. Seeing this, I choose to activate my handmaidens from reserve in an attempt to claim this objective. They both complete a move action first of all, with one handmaiden making a move onto that centre objective. I spend another force for an exposed flank ability, finally finishing off with a combat action, taking one shot at the fifth brother and the other shooting at Tom's 501st clones. Now seeing the fifth brother without protection and steadfast he's benefited from the majority of the game, I feel confident. I then pile misery on by activating the Queen's coordinated fire ability to give the fifth brother an additional 2 damage. Rolling with the additional focus and sharpshooter dice, I finish with 1 crit and 5 hits, and although Tom is able to block 4 of those, it allows me to go 2 steps down the tree, pushing out 3 damage, enough to wound him and bring a heal to the squad. I opt to use this heal on Sabe, as she's taken quite a lot of damage and is very close to being wounded herself, which I think is the right decision to make. The second handmaiden shoots the clone. With only 2 successes getting through, it is another 3 damage followed by a jump for the handmaiden, which allows her to move slightly away from the 501st and back towards the Queen. I only score the middle objective as I realise in Tom's activation the 501st are wounded for me and therefore don't secure me that objective closest towards me. As Tom starts his go, he keeps the middle objective being the double points objective and draws Darth Vader. First off, he advances, and then decides he's going to spend a force to Vader's fury towards my 501st clones. I do remind him at this point that the clones are wounded, and therefore remove control from that objective that I placed in my last turn. Instead of this, he decides to go into full attack mode on Captain Rex, and Vader's fury to the bottom of the ingress point to allow him to climb to the top of it. As he then swings at his former captain, Tom rolls 3 hits, a crit and 3 expertise, which become a further 2 crits and 1 hit. And although Rex is able to block 3, this does leave 4 successes. Tom gives out 2 damage from Vader's fury and an additional 7 damage along with a shove. Definitely enough to wound the captain and shoving him back towards the edge of the gantry. Tom is able to then make use of the Grand Inquisitor's identity ability to heal off some conditions from himself. Tom then scores 1 objective and gains 2 momentum tokens, 1 for wounding the captain and 1 as the struggle token continues to stay on my side of the struggle track. In my turn, I then roll again and the middle objective stays as double points. This is great news for me as it automatically secures me 2 points at the end of the round. I draw Captain Rex and decide to activate him, first off healing up and using his tactic ability to move one of the handmaidens into range of the objective nearest towards me. Rex then heals from his wounds and I spend 2 force with him to do a defensive manoeuvre. This ultimately stops him from moving to remove the pinned condition he's currently got. He then takes a move action as his first, and although I initially go to measure out an advance, I am reminded that because I'm engaged I can only dash. Therefore I dash forwards, and I follow this with a shot into Tom's 501st clones. Once again I use some coordinated fire from the support of the handmaidens, and finish with 3 crits and 1 hit, which although Tom is able to block the 1 hit, the 3 crits he still has to deal with. This deals 5 damage and the exposed condition, and puts another wound onto the 501st, which now allows me to feel confident in the knowledge I don't really have to work and deal with them again. The next card that is drawn from Tom's order deck is the Grand Inquisitor, and as he rolls his dice, the double points objective moves to the objective closest towards my edge of the table. Tom does come and have a look, with using the Grand Inquisitor's tactic ability if the fifth brother can be moved in range to contest that objective, as this way he will control it because of the fifth brother's special ability. He is unfortunately just out of range, but does decide to move the fifth brother up, eyeing a target in the future turns. Like he is in both Rebels and Kenobi, he is feeling quite arrogant. Might be the best line that comes out of our game, as Tom decides he's going to move the Grand Inquisitor to face Anakin in a heads-on collision. While swinging at Anakin, the Grand Inquisitor only secures 1 success and therefore deals Anakin 2 damage. This swiftly ends the Grand Inquisitor's turn. Tom scores 1 point and takes an additional momentum token as the struggle tracker is firmly set in my half of the board. We do take a short break here so that we can discuss the current state of the game, and really frustratingly for me, as I roll my defense dice, double points for the objective moves to the only active objective I currently don't control. And as I do that, I then draw my 501st clones. We have a quick eye up of the battlefield and work out, with the wounds that are currently on the board from Tom's half of the team, my only real viable targets this turn are Darth Vader and Reva. I'm trying to work out if the 501st clones are either the best people to activate, or if there's a way I can get some coordinated fire from the Handmaidens to give them some support. In the end, I do end up deciding to activate with the 501st clones, and the first action they complete is a move action. I then decide I'm going to take a combat action as my second action this turn. By doing this, I split my fire so that one clone shoots Vader and the second clone shoots Reva. First off, I go into Vader and finish with 1 crit and 2 hits. Tom is able to block the 2 hits, which just puts the pinned condition onto Vader. The second clone, feeling more brave, utilises the Queen's Servant of the People ability to add an additional die to the attack roll. 3 failures does mean that Reva is going to deflect some damage back at the clone, but Reva doesn't roll well, and 4 successes get through in total, for a total of 3 damage, the strained, the pinned conditions, and a reposition. I use the reposition to move slightly, because I want to force Tom to move in his turn. At the minute, I'm feeling confident with the position that I'm in. Tom's characters are all either suffering heavy damage, heavy wounds, or a heavy condition amount, so I do feel like I'm in as good a place as I can be at this point in time. Tom's turn then allows him to keep double points firmly on the objective that is currently in his control, and he draws and activates the 5th brother. This allows him to move onto the objective closest towards my edge and stays within a good range to activate his repulse ability later in the turn. Before that, he has a swing at the 501st clone, dealing 1 damage directly from his expertise plus an additional 2 damage, the pinned and strange conditions. Following this, Tom spends all 3 of his remaining force to complete his repulse ability, which will hit the 1 clone, the Handmaidens and the Queen all in total, but doesn't touch Sabe as she is just out of range. Tom then scores 3 points in total, a really strong turn from the Inquisitors. As I then go, double points in my turn moves to the objective the 5th brother is now firmly in control of. Sabe is drawn, and I decide to use her Loyal Protector ability for some free movement for everyone with a Handmaiden tag. I start to think at this point the objective the 5th brother has now taken control of is a lost cause, as he counts for 2 in terms of deciding whether he controls the objective or not. Therefore, I make a move action towards the objective closest towards Tom's edge of the table. Sabe uses her exposed flank ability to have a climb following this, finishing in control of that objective, and lastly finishes off with a heal, and I take back control of 2 of the objectives that are currently in play. Tom then rolls, and this moves double points to the objective back towards his closest line that Sabe has just taken control of. He does draw Obi-Wan Kenobi, and allows an advance from his tactics ability. Obi-Wan then moves to confront Sabe, taking a focus action before having a swing at her. Kenobi rolls well, and although I can turn one of Tom's crits that he's rolled to a fail, he still gets to go 2 steps onto his combat tree, dealing the 3 damage that's necessary to wound her this turn. That then flips the objective to Tom, who scores 3 points for the objectives and gets him an additional momentum token for wounding Sabe. All of a sudden, it's looking very dangerous for me, as the struggle tracker finishes 1 step on my side of the board, allowing an additional momentum token for the Inquisitors. At this point, Tom has 6 momentum tokens to my 2. Wounding all of my characters has really paid off for him. In my turn, I draw the Queen, and double points moves into the middle, an objective safely currently under my control. At this point, I frantically start reading through the Queen's card to work out what the best thing is going to be to do here. If I go after Kenobi, or if I go after the 5th brother and move back. Given that I've decided to move my forces forward, I think that Kenobi and trying to take that objective is the best option that is currently available to me, given the position that she finds herself in. As her first action, she decides she's going to take a focus action. This allows her to make the most of Sharpshooter and also gives her a free dash to get in range of Kenobi, to have a shot at him. Rolling what feels like a strong dice pool, I finish with 3 crits and 4 hits. And although Tom is able to block 4 of these with Kenobi's great defensive expertise, I was really looking for a 4th success, as this would allow me to deal the damage necessary to Kenobi in order to give him a wound. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. A shove pushes Kenobi back slightly, and I only score 2 points in this turn. Tom rolls to see where the double points moves to, and although this does say in the centre of the table the one objective Tom doesn't control, the last card he draws is his Shatterpoint card. After some careful measuring and deciding who the best person to activate is, whether it's the 5th brother, Reaver, Vader, or the Grand Inquisitor, Tom does ultimately choose to activate with Darth Vader. Because of the mission, this gives him a free dash as he's activated with his Shatterpoint card. This allows him to remove the pinned condition, and then as his first action, he takes a move action, followed by swinging his lightsaber at the Handmaidens. The Dark Lord of the Sith is on a rampage and has 3 successes, dealing 4 damage and 2 shoves to the Handmaidens. Although the objective in the centre does stay under my control, thanks to Captain Rex, it now has one very angry Sith stood upon it. Tom scores 2 points and gains an additional momentum token as the struggle track is still on my side of the board. Time to refresh, force, shuffle the order deck and see where we get. Double points stays where it is, so I know I'm scoring at least 2 this turn. The first order card I draw is Sabe, who allows the Handmaidens to move towards the Queen with her tactic ability. Sabe then fires at Kenobi, benefiting from the Queen's coordinated fire, dropping an instant 2 damage onto Kenobi. Only needing 1 more to wound him, I feel confident in my roll, and amazingly roll 3 crits and 3 hits. And although Kenobi does block my 3 hits, the 3 crits get through and deal the 1 damage that's necessary, along with giving Kenobi strained, a shove, and allowing Sabe a reposition. This reposition allows her to move on to the objective, and she then takes a hunker as her second action, securing me another objective and securing 3 points to me, and also giving me an additional momentum token as I've wounded Kenobi. Although things look like I'm in a positive place, I'm really conscious that Tom is about to refresh all of his force, shuffle his order deck, and he's only a few steps away from winning with the amount of momentum tokens that he's got, as the momentum has just managed to stay on my side consistently. Amazingly, Tom rolls the 33% chance needed, which gives him the double points on the only objective he is currently securing, and as his first card he draws his Shatterpoint from his order card. Tom chooses to advance Kenobi, which gives him a free dash from the mission and a free advance off of his tactics ability. Kenobi moves back onto the objective that Sabe has just pushed him off of. He then swings at Sabe, knowing that she's not very good in defence. Now wounded, he also gets additional dice and rolls 8 in total. Tom has 3 successes and ends up dealing 4 damage and 2 shoves onto Sabe. Once again, this gives him control of the objective, and it scores him 3 points again, and because the struggle is still on my side, this gives him the last momentum token he could get in his turn. I'm now really worried that Tom has got all the momentum tokens he could possibly get, and in my turn I really need to take control of the objective that's worth double points. Unfortunately, this stays on the objective that is being controlled by the 5th brother. Although I do draw the Queen Amidala first, I realise that she isn't going to score me an objective, which ultimately this turn is what I need to do in order to prevent Tom from winning in his next turn. After some discussion about what the best thing to do, I spend 1 force and put her into reserve. It's worth it as I then draw General Anakin Skywalker. I spend the force to utilise a force jump, which is then followed by a move action, ready to confront Obi-Wan Kenobi, his former master. Once again, I have completely forgotten about Jedi Mind Trick on Obi-Wan Kenobi, so as I go to attack his former Padawan, Tom pulls out the mind trick and prevents the attack from happening. With no other options this turn, I have to end my turn and only scores 1 point. It's then over to Tom in what becomes the last turn of the game. Tom rolls the dice and keeps double points in the same place. He then draws Obi-Wan Kenobi and shows General Anakin Skywalker exactly how it should be. Obi-Wan stands there, takes the focus action, and swings at his former Padawan. Tom has 4 successes after the 3 blocks that Anakin does get in, which deals him 7 damage, followed by 2 shoves, wounds Anakin, and does secure the 3 points needed to take the second struggle, and wins this game 2-0. Although it is a 2-0 scoreline, it did feel at times significantly closer than it could have been. In reflection, completely forgetting about Obi-Wan's mind trick was a huge error on my part. I was in the mindset of attacking mode, claiming the objective. Tom played the 5th brother brilliantly by having him go after the Naboo natives, who generally want to stick a bit closer to one another to benefit from things like coordinated fire. He was able to split them up and maximise the force repulse. I probably shouldn't have moved away from that back objective and forced Tom to make some additional decisions about who he wanted to activate. If I had the Queen, Sabe and the Handmaidens all targeting the 5th brother, it could have secured me that additional objective for a longer period of time. Overall, this was a fantastic game and a great way to learn more about the Queen and her Handmaidens. A big thank you to Tom for my game, and an even bigger thank you to all of you that are still here watching the video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.